θέλετε. Μόλις ξεκίνησε. Λοιπόν, η Πανελλήνια Ένωση Πτυχιούχων Ινολόγων έχει την πολύ μεγάλη χαρά και σας προσκαλεί στον κύκλο διαδικτυακών σεμιναρίων, το δεύτερο στη σειρά της εταιρείας Ινοανάλυσης. Το σεμινάριο αυτό, το οποίο λαμβάνει χώρα τώρα, θα γίνει στα αγγλικά, όπως ήταν και το προηγούμενο, παρόλο που εδώ έχουμε Έλληνες παρουσιαστές αυτή τη στιγμή, έναν Ιταλό και έναν Γάλλο. Ο τίτλος λοιπόν της σημερινής παρουσίασης είναι Good Oenological Practices for the Use of Wood in the Various Phases of the Production Process. Οι εισηγητές στη σημερινή μας βραδιά θα είναι δύο, αλλά πριν μιλήσω για τους δύο μας παρουσιαστές, για τους δύο μας ομιλητές, πρώτα θα σας μιλήσω για τον Παναγιώτη Θαμνίδη, τον ιδιοκτήτη της εταιρείας Ινοανάλυσης, και δίπλα είναι και η κυρία Ανθούλα Μίχελη, αν το λέω σωστά.
Καλησπέρα, Μίχελη.
Καλησπέρα σε όλους. Γεωπόνος Ινολόγος, που εξειδικεύεται στο μάρκετινγκ στην Ινοανάλυση, από ό,τι έμαθα και εγώ πριν λίγο. Και στη συνέχεια θα έχουμε μια ομιλία μισής ώρας περίπου από τον κύριο Μάσιμο Ροντάνη, όπου θα μας το παρουσιάζει ο κύριος Θαμνίδης, και στη συνέχεια από τον άλλο κύριο Dominique Delteil. Παναγιώτη, έχεις το λόγο. Ξεκινάμε από σένα και έχεις το λόγο να μας παρουσιάσεις και τους δύο ομιλητές μας.
Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ. Η συμμετοχή είναι πραγματικά εξαιρετική. Από ό,τι βλέπω είναι γύρω στους 85 συμμετέχοντες. Θα μιλήσουν δύο, συγκεκριμένα ο Massimo Rodani, Export Manager, και είναι υπεύθυνος της T&T Coopers, μιας εταιρείας που είναι η δεύτερη μεγαλύτερη εταιρεία στον κόσμο σε εναλλακτικά δριός. Και η εταιρεία είναι χιλιανή και έχει θυγατρική στην Ιταλία. Υπεύθυνος για όλη την Ευρώπη είναι ο Μάσιμο. Θα αναφέρει μερικά πράγματα για την εταιρεία, γιατί η εταιρεία έχει κάποιες πατενταρισμένες μεθόδους για το toasting, οπότε θα αναφερθεί και λίγο στην εταιρεία και το τι κάνει. Επίσης παράγει βαρέλια δριός γαλλικής, βαρέλια αμερικάνικης δριός, βαρέλια κακίας, και έχει πειραματιστεί πολύ ακόμα και σε εξωτικά ξύλα. Ας πούμε, υπάρχουν εναλλακτικά δριός ειδούγες από σπάνια ξύλα, όπως είναι η Λέγκα, μια οξιά Παταγωνίας που έχουν στη Χιλή, ξύλα από κεράσι, εναλλακτικά δριός από κεράσι, εναλλακτικά δριός από κακία, βαρέλια κακίας και γενικά μια τεράστια γκάμα. Έχουν κάνει τεράστια έρευνα πάνω σε ό,τι αφορά τα κομμάτια, το κομμάτι της χρήσης ξύλου στην υνοποίηση. Φυσικά θα μιλήσει ο Μάσιμο και θα παρουσιάσει την εταιρεία, την T&T Coopers καλύτερα. Και μετά θα έχουμε μια ομιλία του κυρίου Dominique Delteil, όπου ο κύριος Delteil θα μιλήσει στην ουσία θα μας δείξει και πρωτόκολλα και τον τρόπο που θα μπορούσε να χρησιμοποιηθεί το ξύλο, όσο και αν φαίνεται περίεργο, για να κάνουμε πιο φρουτώδη κρασιά. Και όχι κρασιά πιο πολύ επιβαρημένα με ξύλο ή να έχουμε αυτό το impact. Θα δούμε λοιπόν τη δική του εκδοχή. Είναι ένας από τους διάσημους. Έχει η εταιρεία συμβούλων, τώρα και ο γιος του αναλαμβάνει. Έχει τεράστια εμπειρία. Εσύ, Ιωάννα, το ξέρεις κιόλας από το Ινστιτούτο πιο παλιά. Ήταν και στην ουσία ο αντιπρόσωπος της Γαλλίας στον ΟΗΒΕ. Ήταν στο ερευνητικό Ινστιτούτο.
Το Ινστιτούτο Coopérative des Ventes du Montpellier.
Ακριβώς. Οπότε όμως ας μιλήσουν οι άνθρωποι που τους καλέσαμε εδώ και τους ευχαριστούμε για αυτή την ομιλία που θα μας κάνουν. Τώρα θα κάνουμε μια αναλλαγή, να δώσουμε το λόγο στο Μάσιμο, να μας πει 5 πράγματα για την εταιρεία.
Παναγιώτη, αν μου επιτρέπεις να πω, γιατί παρέλειψα να το πω στην αρχή, ότι για τις όποιες ερωτήσεις έχετε για τον οποιοδήποτε από τους ομιλητές, δεν θα σταματήσει η παρουσίαση, αλλά όπως και κάθε φορά θα στέλνετε τις ερωτήσεις σας από κάτω στο chat και στο τέλος θα τις απευθύνουμε. Μπορείτε να πείτε και σε ποιον θέλετε να την απευθύνουμε και θα απευθυνθεί στο τέλος της παρουσίασης του ενός και του άλλου. Παναγιώτη, έχεις το λόγο να μας συστήσεις τον...
Massimo and Dominique, sorry for my Greek. I make a small introduction of what will be done in the next 1.5 hours. I said that Massimo, you are going to speak about presentation of T and Coopers, who is T and Coopers, or the whole company. And then after your presentation about the T and Coopers, then Dominique Delteil will follow with his speech about the integration of wood during the winemaking process. Okay?
Perfect.
So, Massimo, it's your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to everybody to be here today. I am Massimo Rodani, I'm from Italy, and I'd like to give some information about T and Coopers, focusing on the different that our company have compared with our competitors above all, because the information are as a lot. T and Coopers is a multinational company based in Chile, and it is a family-run company with own branch in Italy, Argentina, South Africa, and United States. We are in the 10 most important company in the sector of cooperage in the world. We are present in about 35 markets all around the world with the distributor or final customer. And we have an annual production of about 25,000 barrels per year and a turnover of about $25 million, made half in barrel and half in alternative. Let's quickly see our story. We are a very young company because we was born just in 1995, less than 30 years ago. But in the last 30 years, we have introduced a great number of news in the market of cooperage, because, for example, we were the first company to launch a full range of alternative products toasted by convection. We have invented the convection toasting system for barrels, for example, in 2005. We have launched in 2010 the Natinga project. That is a project of dogs trained to detect the TCA and TBA that work daily in our factory in Chile to looking for the safe of our wood and our process. And finally, in 2018, we moved in Curacaví, in the new wonderful factory that you can see in this picture. And in that date, we have introduced the T and Coopers new commercial brand of the company, but the company is still the same, Tonelleria Nazionale. This is our wood yard where we season the wood in Chile. And
Mr. Rodani, I'm really sorry, but can you speak louder, a little bit more loud?
More loud?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I try to give more. Now it's better? It's the same?
No, it's not the same. It's better. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, let's quickly see our wood. We use French, American, European oak. As everyone knows, the French oak is the most used wood in the enologies for the lot of contribution of phenolic acid and the ellagic tannins and the helping the structure of the wine. We buy it from certificated supplier in France, and the wood come from the forest of Allier, Nevers, Vos, and Centre, and Fontainebleau. Then American oak. The American oak is recognized in the world above all for its notes of coconuts and vanilla, that are the most unpleasant notes for the American oak. It is important to say that the coconut notes arrive from whiskey lactones that are thermolabels. It means that during the toasting process they decrease, and as we are going to see later, our toasting process is a lot longer by convection than the normal toasting by fire. And it's admit us to have one of the most gentle, one of the most elegant American oak on the market. It comes from different forests of United States. Then we have the European oak that is very similar in notes like French oak, but is not so constant in the supply as the French one, and it has more notes of clove, almond, and coconuts. It's important to say that the first market that buy European oak is French. It means that a big quantity of barrels that arrive from French is made not in French oak, but in European oak. Above all, the entry-level barrels that arrive from French oak must be compared with our European oak because they are not 100% French oak barrels. Finally, in the last years, we have introduced the 3 different wood that are acacia, cherry, and lenga. Acacia is really interesting for the white wine because it push up the fruit, the freshness of the wine that gives some notes of white flower into the wine. While the cherry is most used in red and rosé wine because it brings the typical cherry fruit notes that in a touch is a lot appreciated in different wines. And finally, lenga is our exclusive because it comes from Chile and Patagonia in South America. It is we are arrived at this wood because Concha y Toro, one of the biggest wine producer in the world, our biggest Chilean customer, asked us to develop a wood that comes from Chile to produce 100% Chilean wines. And we have studied the result of this lenga. It is really, really interesting because it doesn't have tannins, so it's very, very round in the mouth and have nice and particular red fruit notes in the mouth. So what we can say, we buy the wood where all the companies more or less in our market buy the wood from different suppliers in France, United States, and Romania for in Europe. So the first point where we make a difference with our competitor is in the seasoning of the wood. In fact, in Chile, we don't have enough rain to make the natural seasoning of the wood, but we have a lot of sun and a lot of poor water in the subsoil. So thanks to this condition, we have the possibility to manage the seasoning how we prefer. And we have studied a system managed by a software to be constant during the year in the seasoning of the wood. In the last years, we have also increased the quantity of water we spray to the wood because more water means less tannins, less dry tannins, less bitter tannins in the wood that arrive in the production just before the toasting, because the market is looking for more gentle wood, a wood that is better integrated with the fruit of the wine. The second point where we make the difference with a lot of our competitors in the toasting methods. We have a line of barrels that is toasted by fire, that is called a tradition line, but the focus of our company is the convection toasting system. Convection toasting system that started already in 1996 at the beginning with the whole line of alternative, and in 2005 was launched also for barrels. The tradition system is a way to toast the barrels direct by fire, as they normally hold the cooperage made. And before to put the barrels in toasting, we pass them in a steam chamber at 80 degrees temperature for 1 hour to open the porous, to admit to the toasting to arrive more deeper inside the stave of the barrel. The average time of toasting by convection is 45-60 minutes. And in this line, you can choose obviously the different toasting level between light toast till an heavy toaster. The characteristic of this toasting method is the respect of the fruit, but with less structure, with less sweetness compared with the convection toasting system. As we said, we discover just at the beginning that to induce the chemical and molecular change in the wood was necessary the heat, not the fire. And we have discovered that the hot air was a great alternative to do that. Here you can see more or less how our system or convection works. We heat the air in a hermetic oven, and then we push the hot air that arrive inside the barrels and is forced to move all inside the barrels. In this way, we have a deeper penetration of the toasting and with a lot of advantage. The advantage of the toasting by convection are the completely homogeneous and perfectly replicable in the time of the toasting. There is no carbonization, no smoke, and no other contamination. We have a deeper penetration of the toasting, a penetration of the toasting that can arrive at 15 millimeter compared with the 4-5 millimeter that can arrive at toasting by fire. Here I have an example of wood. This is a piece of stave toasted by convection. You can see the toasting arrive completely in the deeper of the stave. When toasting by fire can happen that you burn the surface, but the internal part of the staves remain untoasted. And they are really different, above all for alternative compared with our competitors. As we said, as an advantage, we have seen that with this process by convection, there is a more aromatic compounds that are developing during the process compared to toasted by fire. And in terms of environment, we have an 87% the reduction of CO2 emission, and we use the 81% less energy compared of toasting by fire. So with this system, we have 3 lines of products. We have the convection line. This is our basis line for convection. Here we arrive at toasting for about 2 hours, compared to the 45 minutes of toasting by fire is already more than the double of time, and so the whiskey lactone, the tannins are already decreasing compared to the toasting by fire. The characteristic of this line is the keeping of the fruit of the wine, bringing structure and persistence to the wine. Here also you can choose the different level of toasting between light and heavy toast. Then, as the name said, we have the long convection. That is a convection toasting system for a longer period of time. We arrive here at about 4-hour times of toasting, the double of the convection. And the characteristic of this recipe are the very delicate tannins you have a lot of complexity, and above all, a sensation of sweetness in the mouth and in the nose, and a lot of more elegance. Here also you can choose the different level of toasting between light and medium plus. The previous name was sweet, complex, and intense. Now oral in the normal name of light and medium plus. Then, continuing in the development, we are arrived at 6-hour toasting times with the special toast recipe. They are all different recipes that give particular notes. For example, the Fruit Plus is a French oak toasted for 6 hours, but at very low temperature, 140 degrees. It means that that recipes bring just only structure, not toasting notes. While Sweet Plus is the recipe that give more vanilla and sweetness note to the wine. It's made in a particular forest of American oak from Missouri, and the Pure Plus is the same recipe that the Sweet Plus, but in French oak, and this is particularly interesting in note of pastellery on bakery, while Intense Plus and AI Plus are one in French, one in American oak, toasted for 6 hours, higher temperature. So here you have a development of a lot of chocolate, a lot of spicy, a lot of vanilla, coffee. They are very powerful recipe for powerful wine. So continuing in our development, I quickly show you the news for 2024. We have launched the Aqua System. Aqua System is a treatment that we can do to all barrels or some staves before toasting. We wash the wood with hot air at higher pressure to decrease even more the quantity of tannins in the wood. It arrive to the wine in the glass with a decreasement in astringency and bitterness of about 40% in barrels and 25% less in alternative. With this system, we have studied two particular type of barrels, red lux and white lux. They are 36-month Vosges forest wood, 36 months that are a lot for the alternative. Nobody seasoned 3 years the wood for alternative. And before to do the toasting process, we wash the stave with hot air, and then we toast it with 2 special recipes, one for red and one for white, to have the most gentle recipe for red and for white, because the quantity of tannins is very low. They are very round, very powerful, but round and sweet in the mouth. Then in the specialties family, we have launched 3 new recipes: vanilla, caramel, and bourbon, that where the name clearly explain the result we bring in the wood. What I want to say is that all our recipes are just wood and toasting methods, because now in the market are arriving a lot of products that are added with chemical or natural artificial elements that are not allowed, and that not came from the wood characteristics. So let's quickly see our portfolio of products that is the most wider in the market. We start with our barrel in limited edition Fontainebleau. It is made with wood from Fontainebleau forest near Paris. We produce it in a limited edition of 200 pieces per year because the quantity of wood is very, very limited. It is extra fine grain, dried for 36 months. It is our most elegant barrels on the market. Then here we have the finesse barrel. Finesse barrel is the line of barrel of French oak, seasoned over 36 months, 100% extra fine grain. It is suitable for extra long aging of wine, and it is available in 2 to 5 till 300 liter barrels. All our barrels can be chosen in the 4 line of toasting: tradition, convection, long convection, and special toast. And finally, we have our standard line of barrels that are the noble barrels. Noble barrel can be chosen in French oak, American oak, European oak, acacia, and then you can choose also the Merrandier barrel that are a blend of different wood in the same barrel. They are very, very interesting because, for example, in Italy, we sell a selection barrel that are half French oak, half European oak, or a lot of Merrandier that has 40% French oak, 40% American oak, and 20% European oak. In this way, we keep the best of each wood, decreasing the price compared to 100% French oak barrels with very interesting results. The noble barrels can be available till 500 liter in all the different line of toasting, in different level of toasting. Then we have also the possibility to supply some accessories to make barrels suitable for fermentation. That could be the small inox door in the wooden bottom, or the wall inox bottom with the biggest door. All the barrels can be toasted in the special toasting level, and in this way they take their own name. For example, the Grace is the Sweet Plus recipe toasting for alternative, but in barrels it's called Grace. The Fresh is the fruit toasting, and so ahead. We have also the possibility to supply some big cask. These products are not made in Chile, are the only products that we don't produce in Chile, but we produce it in Austria, thanks to a joint venture with an important company in Austria. We can also supply this kind of stuff in Slovenian, Austrian, German, or French oak in different sizes, different formats, and finally we arrive at the line of alternative in what we say is the future of the enology for a lot of reasons that we are going to see later also. We have, as I said before, we launched this product at industrial level. We have an experience on these products that nobody has on the market. Today, all our competitors has a line of alternative, but most of them consider the alternative like piece of barrels, while for us they are since a lot of years they are important tools to be used during all the process of the production, and every year even more winemakers are putting these tools in their protocols because they are cheapest than barrels, easiest to use, most friend of the environment because you use less wood, and for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest difference we have with the competitors is that we toasted our alternative in the big stave in oven by convection. Then we wait that the substance are fixed to the wood, and then we cut to make the size of the stave, we cut to make vini blocco, we cut to make zigzag, or we crush to make chips, powder or granular rice. It is important because this is the only way to be sure that all the piece of wood had reached the same amount of heat. Our competitor, to save the biggest quantity of our competitor, to save money, before crush the piece, the wood, and then they toasted it. But in this way, you can be sure that each piece had reached the same amount of heat. The use of alternative are important in fermentation as is in aging of the wood. They can be produced in American oak, French oak, in acacia, cherry, and lenga. Now we see in details which are our alternatives. Staves are this kind of products. They can have a length of about 1.5 meter till 3 meter, a thickness of 1.1 centimeter, and 30.5 centimeter of wide. They have a U hole in a side and a round hole in another side. So in this way, you can set it in stainless steel structure built on size inside the tank. These are the tools that do the best job in fermentation, the most precise job above all for white wine, as Dominique is going to explain, and they are the best products that do aging similar to the barrels. Working with this product, you really can do a product similar to what is in barrel. The short stave are the same product, but for tank used above all for these products are very interesting in fermentation because they have a sponge effect. So when you put seasoned and toasted by convection, the first effect is a sponge effect. They catch out some knots of mold, they catch out some residual treatment that you have in vineyard, and then they bring structure to the wine, they bring complexity, they fix the color. So you have an incredible number of advantage to using wood in fermentation. Mini stave instead of are just 95 centimeter length. They have 5 centimeter wide and a thickness of 0.7 millimeter. The difference compared with the big stave is they bring less structure, less complexity in the wine, and they are suitable for the single pass, while the big stave can be used, the insert stave or short stave can be used for more than one passage of wine. Then cutting the staves, we arrive to produce the vini block. Vini block has little cubes that are made cutting the big stave. So the difference between the stave is just the way they are in contact with the wine, because the vini block has inside a net of infusion, so they are concentrated inside the tank, while the stave is wall surrounded by the wine. But during the month, the result is very, very similar, considering that the price is lower and they are easiest to use. Vini block is one of the most sold products that we have in portfolio. It can be used in fermentation and also in aging for the wines. Another interesting products that we have is zigzag. Zigzag are this set of staves that are put inside a net of infusion like this. There is a silicon plug new to SUPI, and they are very, very interesting when you have a safe barrel that don't give any wood knots. You can use this piece of this zigzag to give new wood to the wine. It is over 2 kilos of wood, so the impact inside a barrel is high. So there is the possibility to cut it in 2 parts and to use half in a barrel and half in another barrel, because there is a double clip in a size, and at the other side you have the screw to put in another silicone plate. They comes from the stave of insert stave, so they have a lot of complexity, a lot of structure to the wine. And we have also the mini zigzag that is made with stave that come from mini stave, so less structure, less complexity. Of course, lower price, but considering that a zigzag costs almost double than a mini zigzag, we advise to buy the big one and cut and use half in a barrel and half in another barrel. There are customers that use the whole zigzag in the same barrels, making more than one passage of wine, or there are other customers that prefer use the whole zigzag for longer period till 1 year. They are different school of use, but all of them are really, really interesting in result. Of course, it can be used the whole zigzag for a 500-liter barrels. Then crushing the stave, we arrive to produce the fragment. From the biggest one are the chips. Chips and vini block are inside a net of infusion of 10 kilos to put inside the tank that you can easily put and take out, while powder and rice are not inside the net of infusion because they must be mixed with the mast. In the last period, we have introduced also vintage blend. Vintage blend is a recipe studied just for fermentation, because as a part of toasting French oak wood and a part of untoasted to decrease the price, but it works good also in fermentation. I'm arrived at the end. Quickly see again the importance of the sustainability for our company. We use 100% renewable energy. As we say before, the toasting by convection is a friend of the environment because it's 80–90% less CO2 emission, and we use less energy compared with the toasting by fire. The matter of sustainability is important also in doing some final consideration about the use of the wood. The price of the wood for barrel is increasing every year of 10% or more. So we are arriving at an impact that is not possible anymore for the market. And using barrels, you pay a lot per liter. Here, for example, considering 3 passages of wine in a barrels, the pure cost per liter is around €1 till €1.5, and you are using almost 70 grams of wood per liter of barrels. There you can see some example going in alternative. How big is the difference? How less is the difference in money you put buy this product, but above all, how less is the amount of wood do you need to produce your wine. You arrive at 2 grams per liter compared to 70 grams per liter. So these are considerations that for the future are really important. We think that alternative even more are going to take space and must going to take space because start to be a lack of the wood to produce barrel, and the price is increasing every year. So the future is start to use this good high quality alternative that can admit you to produce quality wine that are asked in the market because are more round, more sweetness, more gentle, and you save money and you save wood for the environment. This is some photo of some reference that of customer that we have in Italy. And I have finished my presentation, and I thank you for your attention, and I give the word to Dominique Delteil. Thank you so much.
Mr. Rodani, we really thank you for your presentation.
Να πω κάποια πράγματα μπορώ, Ιωάννα?
Βεβαίως, Παναγιώτη, μπορείς να πεις απλά να πω ότι γιατί μετά έχει και ο κύριος Delteil την παρουσίαση.
Θα ξεκινήσει ο Delteil και μετά εγώ θα κάνω εγώ σχολιασμό. Ναι. So, Mr. Delteil, it's your turn to start your presentation. Okay?
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you very, very well. Would you please? Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I don't speak a word of Greek. So now we talk about good oenological practice for the use of wood in various phases of the production process. I think I was one of the first to introduce the concept of good practices in oenology. We won't go into detail, but a summary I like is a wine that pleases consumers at the right cost. So also, if you want to go more in details in some recommendation we do as Delteil consultant, you can go on our website and you have different papers we published and some wine-making chronicles where you have some examples of some very detailed process to go maybe more in depth in some concept I will develop. I like to start conferences about winemaking because, as I said to students when I talk in a university, for example, never start thinking about winemaking or a process if you don't know the price and to whom the wine will be sold. I think it's obvious. Some winemakers think about winemaking. No, you first need to think about markets and so about consumers. So here is a summary. Once I came to that everyone the wines that are sold on long term, not just the fashion wines that last 1 or 2 years like cocktails, etc. No, long-term wines, they respect 3 axes. Says that the axis push the wine to the right, like the traffic jam, the green zone of conforming wines to the market, price and style. They are always clean and sound. There's always a confirming longevity, and they should not have excessive aggressivity perceived by consumers. Sometimes to wake up winemakers or enologists listening to me, I say to provoke, winemaker taste is not very important. It's consumer's taste important. Of course, you need to have a good tasting ability to make wine, but you must think about consumers. And I like to remember to everybody around the world, like anywhere else on the planet, this cannot be given as granted to Greek wines, so you must apply good practices in vineyard and in the winery. And during the quick and long conference, if I propose a technique or an action, it is because by experience, by experimentation, and by experience in consulting, the technique I will propose is going towards sound and clean wines. I call it axis A, confirming longevity, axis B, and because on one slide there will be axis A, B, C, and without excessive aggressivity, axis C. So from time to time, I will remind it. Okay. In the last more than 30 years in experimentation and experience, I've developed the Delteil method in the use of wood. So also that will also meet what was the quick presentation of my career. So our good enological practices are based on scientific monitoring for 40 years, following what's going on in the science, important, rigorous enological experiments since 1991. We don't have, we have ideas, but some people talk about their philosophy. No, we're based on results, experimental results, and one scale validation in different countries. And when I was in ICV, we were the first European cellar trials with staves in '98, and also combining the follow-up of what's going on and creating elements with around the wood use. We always follow what's going on the wine market, monitoring of price segmentation, acceptable cost for all range. And Massimo gave some ideas on the rising of the prices and the cost of wood, and monitoring wine styles and sociocultural trends. And when we talk about wood, including sensory satisfaction for who wants no oak wines. Some people ask, I don't know in Greece or tourists that come to Greece, but people, I want a no oak wine. And you present a very well-made white or red or rosé made with wood the right way. And people, I love that. Is it no oak? Yes. Okay. And then it's okay if the wine is pleasing the consumer. From our experimentation and consulting experience, our guidelines in the use of woods are, and then I will develop that more details, using new oak as soon as fermentation maturation starts in almost all wines, including if the wine is later aged in new barrel, using different size and type of oak according to the vinification steps, we'll see that, avoiding non-toasted oak in fermentation and aging. Sorry, Massimo, for your product with non-toasted oak. It's not, I don't recommend that to my clients, but I understand some people buy it for costs, as it was said. Segmenting the additions of block and staves during aging to follow the wine colloidal evolution. The wine is moving on, it's changing, so we have to adapt to it and monitor more precisely the wine style, take advantage of the sponge effect. Using oak stave and zigzag in used oak vessel to avoid all oak. I think it's important too, of course, and using some stave in stainless steel tank after classical barrel aging to avoid the so-called stainless steel disease. Almost everybody knows that after aging, if you keep before filtration your wine in stainless steel tanks, then the wine is changing. Some people call it stainless steel disease, and some staves in the tank helps prevent that. Okay. Massimo mentioned that it's quite new. Very few people talk about the sponge effect of oak, and we develop experimentally and understand how oak is working as a sponge. And at the same time, in parallel, if you look at my biography, you've seen my historical implication in wood, but for very long years I was selecting yeast, working on yeast. I was the creator of the specific inactivities for aging, etc. So in parallel, when I talk here, I will talk about oak, but also I developed the practice and the use, understanding and the use of inactivated yeast for a sponge effect. Oak and yeast have different structure. They work sometimes the same, but most of the time in complementary effect. Okay, so let's figure that point that not many books or professors talk about in enology. So, for example, on the left, you have the porous structure of wine, and on top of it, an anthocyanin with the red shadow. So instead, red is because it's not interesting in enology, like the traffic light. So unstable anthocyanin and aggregate reactive tannin adsorb on wood cell. Sorry, I cannot read well my... Sorry, I would try to, I cannot. So, okay, I have to remember what I wrote. Okay, are absorbed on the wood structure, and so are when you change your wood, or you keep, this is true for the barrel, and this also for staves, blocks, etc. So then, if you eliminate unstable tannins and anthocyanin, it's one part of the explanation of the impact of wood and inactivated yeast on color stability. Symbolized by a molecule of methoxypyrazine and a molecule of ethanethiol, sulfur compound. Herbaceous and sulfur molecule absorbed on wood surface are eliminated, more stable and less sulfur green and less bitter metallic wines. One part explaining why wines well worked with good practices with wood, yeast, etc. General enological practices and including wood have better longevity, and here talking about methoxypyrazine and ethanethiol, sounder and cleaner aroma and better longevity. Are there limitations in the use of wood as a sponge? The sentence could be the same with inactivated yeast, of course, yes. On the left, we have symbolized by a gray porous structure of wood, surface of wood stave added recently, new, and they have intense attraction for molecules like methoxypyrazine, ethanethiol as model. And when on the right, symbolized by a purple colored structure and some molecules fixed on it, when the surface of wood is saturated after some weeks, some another molecule, its sponge efficiency limited because its reaction sites are occupied, and then is less efficient. So after a certain time, either wood and either yeast, inactivated yeast, they start to lose their sponge effect. So if you want to renew, you need to. If you don't need to renew a sponge effect, you can stay long with your wood, or in the wood, or with the wood. The sentence is true, and the concept is true for either wood vessel, barrel, foudre, botte, or for staves, blocks, etc. And so if you need to renew your sponge effect, you need to add some new wood according to what you want, etc. So then people, when I start to explain the sponge effect of yeast and wood, some people say, but it will absorb also my interesting aromas, etc. No, in practice, no. I try to explain why. Let's see, symbolized on the left, you see the molecule, it's beta-damascenone englobe into a colloid, so potentially aromatic molecule in interaction with colloids. It's known that and we demonstrated when I was in ICV with the University of Montpellier, that when the molecules, like on the right, symbolize like three that don't go into interaction in the molecules, they go on a more chemical style aroma, like you see the energy drink, or I don't know in Greece, but in France, there's an antibiotic syrup everybody knows as a very artificial banana taste, etc. So on the left, we have that beta-damascenone included in colloids brings a plum aroma. Okay, simplified vision. And on the right, those molecules, same molecules, but not interacting with colloids from grape or grape, yeast, bacteria, wood. They go to a more chemical aroma. Then the general aroma in the wine is less, is a mix of, etc. If you add some new wood, you symbolize on the right like the porous vision. Some molecules are absorbed, and as a result, on the last cream you see on the on the right, less of the free reactive molecule, and on the left, the molecule that was protected from wood adsorption by the colloids, where it was interacting. Generally a tensioactive and electrostatical reaction. Then the perceived effect will be more intense plum vision. So it's clear that, and that's also the goal of use of wood in maceration. You start to build some interaction that then makes that your positive elements from the grapes that give you the interesting aromas and mouthfeel are protected and bring better longevity. And I call your attention, wood is not generally stripping, absorbing. Inactivity is the same, are not stripping the interesting aromas, but you could strip those colloid, aromatic, colloidal, colloid/tannin structures that are interesting generally and stable, longevity and non-aggressive, axis 3, C, but they can flocculate if you make a collage, fining in English. When I wrote that, just was looking for the word fining, by a protein fining collage in French. Okay. Here from Francis, a good question. Was it the key to adding toasted oak? So you see our Delteil position during the maceration fermentation. Remind that there are key combination between fresh grapes elements and oak to reach axis A, clean and sound, B, longevity, C, confirming longevity, C, without excessive aggressivity for style and longevity. Combination mean oak diffusion and oak absorption sponge. Oak-like inactivities for maceration is an important sponge to balance the fermenting juice for color and aroma stability. Many trials demonstrate that. Non-toasted oak does part of the job, but one day in your bottle there will be more chemical, artificial vanilla or artificial fruit than compared with toasted oak. And that sentence also later, when you have wine, not anymore grape, you cannot combine grape element with oak. Too late, you have forever lost some key actions. Some people say, oh no, I will not use blocks, chips, or rice during maceration because then I use brand new French brand barrels. Stupid. Oh, no, sorry. Non-good practice, not stupid, not good practice, or maybe not the right tradition. Oak fragments are important element in fermentation regulation, particularly also the sulfur flavor management. It is some people working on wide varieties that are trained to where it's difficult to manage sulfur aromas during fermentation. They immediately see the positive impact of using the right amount of the right wood during fermentation. Same thing with people working, for example, very classical Cabernet Sauvignon, not very ripe in aromas, so some potential vegetal herbaceous aroma plus sulfur flavor. And here I take the advantage to remind that one in intensity of sulfur flavor, one in vegetal gives 3 in herbaceous. So you manage prevention of sulfur flavor, you manage your herbaceous aromas, and you skip your fruity/vegetal aroma that people like around the world in general, according to your price. Of course, it's always a question of price and market. So, as I said, the last point, when you macerate a maceration fermentation of Cabernet, where an area where it's difficult to manage herbaceous and sulfur of flavor, the presence, the right amount of wood and the right wood in maceration fermentation is obvious difference. Let's go on. When you early saturate the fermentation juice with oak elements, the wine later has a far smoother behavior during aging with oak, either in barrels or with staves or with block, depends. We'll see different options, but that's also obvious. And when you start to work with oak, it's right to start in the fermentation, so then your job is easier. good blocks during maceration is also an investment to preserve and use the barrels for a longer period. That was the slide that the presentation was focused on how to manage the barrels. So that last sentence was important also, and it's clear. And that, or you can work with if you're a very high price wine, and you can work with the fermentation maceration barrels that Massimo presented. But most wines around the world, even expensive wines, are made either in concrete, stainless steel, or wooden vat with blocks or chips. We'll see that. Another slide that if I show in general when I talk about oak and malolactic, advantage of malolactic with oak blocks, even for top quality red that will go in barrel. New oak is a key point during malolactic to develop and stabilize color and aroma. It's known now for not a century, but quite a long time. If you use the right amount of blocks during the malolactic, you have the new wood, consistent quality with good oak blocks cut from large staves after convection toastings. It is not a chance that I talk in that T.N. Cooper's conference. We started in '98 to collaborate with T.N. Cooper's, and we've seen that for as winemaking consultant, that the woods made by T.N. Cooper's are the one that suits best the strategy. So here I don't write Vini block, T.N. Cooper's Vini block, but it's clearly, etc. Some wineries that when they try blocks made from directly toasted, not cut from a large stave, the results are less clean and sound, less longevity, and there's more aggressivity in the wine. Okay, very interesting compared with a barrique or Botte. You can adapt the dosage according to the grape sensory profile. When you devat at the end of maceration, if you want to restructure the wine, or you think the wine is very well balanced, etc., you can adapt the quantity of the blocks you use during malolactic. And also the trend, weaker the colloidal balance of the grapes, more oak to compensate the balance. What does it mean? Weaker the colloidal balance, the general balance, less ripening because of cooler climate, because of rain, because of hail, etc. You need to, or young vines, for example. I don't know, your viticulturist went wrong in the quantity of grapes. If you have more diluted grapes, so resulting in weaker colloid balance, more oak to compensate the balance. Or if you start your style with a grape variety high in tannins and colloids and good round, etc., naturally, and then you plant another variety that is less rich in colloidal balance, the right way, the trend is to more blocks during the malolactic. Here there are some general elements, and now I will talk about that, and that will be the choice in an example I will show you at the end of the conference. If you make your co-inoculate lactic there's one that works very well. So it's not written here. I'll give you the name. It's called ML Prime from l'Allemand. Okay, if you use that lactobacillus in co-inoculation, you have your alcoholic and malolactic at the same time. So the words in the previous slide talking about alcoholic fermentation with wood, and this slide about malolactic with wood, you have all combined during your maceration fermentation, because alcoholic and malolactic go together, and we talk about that more in detail when we'll be talking about that high price Cabernet. That will be the last example I will show you. Okay, then below some classical positive elements when you to manage a larger tank or vat volume rather than malolactic in barrel. This slide is to say that malolactic higher top quality reds, malolactic in barrel is not neither a miracle for me nor an obligation. And in the top red example I will show you at the end, we will go this way, they will like this, because in this case we'll have with blocks alcoholic and malolactic, and then go on aging. So now I'll go the other way as the Massimo presentation. I start with the smaller pieces of wood. So when to use oak chips? Popular premium red wine during maceration, in Liberty in the juice. So chips or rice, depend, and for both format or size, either rice or chips, depends on your practice, etc. In Italy, where the denomination association has not accepted the pieces of wood, a silence, usually I say stupid, but I didn't say it, but I consider it's a very big mistake. So winemakers like the rice, because when the pomace goes to the distillery, the workers in the distillery do not see the small pieces of wood. Okay, the other we'll talk about later about blocks, because blocks you don't send them to the distillery. So so here either chips or rice. People with using tanks with many moving parts, like propeller to empty the tanks, etc. Also, they prefer rice than chips, because to be sure they will not block the system. Okay, so general in Liberty in the juice at the beginning of maceration, before filling the maceration tank with fresh distilled and crushed grapes. Dosage 100-200 grams per hectoliter. You could make a better wine at the end when you divide with a higher dosage, but then it's also, we talked about good practices. So the right price at the right cost. So during maceration, to your style, your grape, your area. We talk about the Papera Premium Red, let's say up to 6-7, up maximum 10 euro per bottle at the winery. So with that, you have your color stability. You work on your color stability. You work on your style. You work on your balance, etc., etc. All the elements I presented before, and then you keep some money for some wood during the aging. What we recommend as Delteil method, long years trial, etc., or French oak convection. You remember what Massimo explained, MT. So people that are old like me, what they used to call Odyssey medium plus. Okay, and as popular premium red variety, from my experience, I have no Greek experience, but or in almost, no, in many other wine producing countries. If you have popular premium red, not extra concentrated, not extra ripe, etc., the most efficient and regular is the convection MAT, French oak, as written here. Then when you manage that well, you can try other things with 20% of that, etc., etc. I have nothing against home thought blend, but start if you are not working like I present, try what I present, and then you make your own thing. And when I say try it, it's at least usually I consider 3 vintages before you start to change the protocol, to assess if that idea's protocol works. When to use oak blocks? Oh, okay, finished with the chips and oak rice? Yes, for Delteil method, yes. I didn't talk about powder? No, because it's not part of our good practices. Why? Maybe in the questions. Oak blocks. So let's keep on the positive things. So popular red during aging, in bags or in Liberty, according to the way you work, 50 to 200 grams per hectoliter, from 1 week, 2 weeks, if you're looking at some moment for sponge effect, up to 3 months. What we do after 1 2 weeks, we talk about that later. French oak convection MT plus for Cabernet, etc. Cabernet Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Malbec, and then I don't know which Greek variety that from maceration and oak point of view react like Cabernet. And French oak long convection, remember, MT, for Pinot Noir, Syrah, Grenache, and Greek varieties that behave either because you have, for example, one with high color Syrah and one with more lower color Grenache, but etc. It's more on the, when you look certain fruit, etc. Long convection. Oak, we use oak blocks, superior red wine during maceration. I already talked that, so let's consider as more than 10 euro per bottle. Generally, we have superior red wines, so let's consider we have 15 days maceration in general, 10 to 15. We can talk about very long maceration later, maybe if we have time. In bags, you put your bags, you attach your bag, you fix your bags if you prefer. You before filling to the tank, before filling the maceration tank with freshly stemmed and crushed grapes, you put that before cold soaking. If you apply cold soaking, dosage, because for superior quality, superior price red wine, we have concentrated ripe grapes. We 200, 300 grams are interesting. It's more expensive for the popular premium, but that's the concept of good practices. According to the grape and the price of the wine, you must adapt. And again, to start with a trial, it works always well. Maybe one day you will find a better recipe. French oak convection MT plus in Cabernet, French oak long convection in Pinot Noir, Syrah, Grenache. Superior red wine during first step of aging. Generally, if you added blocks during maceration, after devatting, you find in the pomace, you find your bags, you clean the bags quickly with water, and immediately after, the wine, the blocks follow. I speak like this. The blocks follow the wine for another 1 or 2 months. During your malolactic, if your malolactic is not made by the lactobacillus during the maceration. And if you, of course, you go on, if you add a Cabernet, you go on with the blocks that were macerating in your Cabernet. If you made during malolactic, for example, if you have a post-alcoholic malolactic, generally quite classical, if you feel you had some new oaks, then you stay with French oak convection MT plus in Cabernet, etc. French oak long convection MT in Pinot Noir, Syrah, Model. Super red wine during aging in a wooden vat, food or botte, whatever you call it. Generally in Liberty, when staves, for example, I know that practical example, when staves cannot enter the vessel bunk hall, the winery in Italy, very nice and expensive red, stays 2 years in food, and they add their rack every year, once a year, and in between they add their blocks, and because the staves cannot enter. 100 to 300 depends on the moment, what you want to do, etc. Up to 3 months if you're single addition. I mean, you fill your food with, I use the food as Massimo used the word food, the French word. You fill your food with your wine, and you add, let's say, 100 grams of blocks. Okay, if you think you made just one addition, I would recommend after 1 month to take out those blocks. So, for example, you take out the wine, you rack, you take out your blocks, but you add other blocks. Another very good option is you can stay up to 1 year. Generally, if you have very long, I would call more than 1 year food aging, a very long aging, if you every year you rack at least, and you can keep your blocks up to 1 year if you add some new blocks, for example, every 3 months, like that example in Italy with the winery. They start with 100 grams, and every 3 months they have 50 grams of blocks, and they rack after 1 year, take out all the blocks that are 1 year, 9 months, 6 months, 3 months. They take all the blocks out, go back to the food, and then they go on their aging. Same style of blocks according to the variety. All red wine just before bottling. We are still talking about wood blocks, and Massimo said that they are quite widely used, and they are very flexible, very interesting tool if they come from big staves. So in bags for 4 weeks, 30-50 grams per hectoliter. When you want to make a little sponge effect before bottling, or for example, I know winery, they go to 50, 60, 70 grams for 2 weeks, just to bring a little bit of toffee and a little bit of chocolate, just for bottling their Merlot that they export to the United States, for example. Here you are many reasons to use that. 30 grams 1 week will be to rebalance your to refresh and to have a small sponge effect without affecting the wine style. Okay. Also, you are still talking about blocks. Popular premium white wine before bottling in bags or Liberty, depend the way you want. 20 to 50 grams per hectoliter. 50 grams per hectoliter is you're not very satisfied with your white, you want to cover some weakness. 20 is for a sponge, etc. 1 or 2 weeks. And in white, like we talk soon with staves, almost always long convection, empty. And here we talk about, oh, sorry, I didn't change it. Of course, it would be French oak, long convection, not in Pinot Noir, Sierra Grenache, but in all white wines. Good question, because when we talk about adding for 1, 3, 4 weeks, and another sentence say we can use blocks up to 3 months. If I use them for 1, 2 weeks, what shall I do with the what shall I do with the blocks after that? So, good question. May I transfer block from one wine to another? In red wines, yes, if the first wine was filtered after the malolactic, you have a negative bread test, and you manage 0.6 milligram per liter molecular SO2 during aging in all reds. And in the first red, all those precautions is to avoid your blocks to be sponges of bread, Pediococcus, lactobacillus, and Enococcus that will contaminate the second wine. So in those conditions, generally no problem in using the blocks. For example, 1-2 weeks in Merlot pre-bottling, and then after 1-2 weeks, you take out the blocks and you put them in a Cabernet that will be bottled in 3 months, or etc. White wineries with white wines without malolactic, okay, especially if you manage 1 milligram per liter molecular SO2 or through the aging. Oak staves. Jerry, I talk about in general, the short staves. White wine during fermentation, almost all white wines, in all vessels, stainless steel, concrete, amphora, big barrels or food. At the start of fermentation, 100-150 grams per hectoliter in mineral fresh style. Example given Sauvignon, Muscat, etc. I guess many of your mineral Greek varieties. 200-300 grams in fruity, more bodied wine. Example Chardonnay and Chardonnay that you export, and people say, if you make a little more American style, for example, that would be a good, it works well. And all white wines, the French oak long convection empty is generally the best, by little or by far. You see that not like Massimo, we talk in gram per hectoliter. Why? Because 20 years ago, I talked about gram per liter, like everybody. And then one winery, we wanted to make Australian style Syrah in Italy, and I recommended 7 grams per kilo of grape, rice, etc. I tasted the wine, said, but you added the oak? Yes. 7 grams per liter. Ah, no, 7 grams per hectoliter. Ah, okay, I understand why I don't feel the oak. So starting that day, I talk in gram per hectoliter. So when you recommend, as a consultant, I thought, when you recommend to a winery 100 gram, 200 gram, 300 gram, oh, people, they catch that because it's a big figure and they don't confuse with other elements, etc. And you talk about gram per hectoliter for yeast, etc. White wine during aging. Here, because aging is, for me, as soon as alcoholic is finished, staves you use during fermentation. The staves follow the wine after the different rackings for 3 to 6 months. In mineral fresh style, like Sauvignon Muscat, until January, we know the addition. And until March, with the new stave, 1,500 gram addition in January, according to the style, your market, etc. I work with many Italian wineries. In Italy, you need to prepare your wine for Vinitaly. That is in April. So you prepare your bottling in February, March for Vinitaly to present your wine. So in Italy, the agenda is dictated by Vinitaly. Okay. And 200, 300 gram in fruity more body Chardonnay until January and March. Those are the staves that were in fermentation. And then you add some more and later, like 1,500 gram in February, March, etc. And always French oak, long convection, MT. Top quality red during aging with staves. For 1-6 months, there's a single addition in all vessels. Staves can be interesting in aging with red, stainless steel, concrete, amphora, food, etc. Up to 1 year if you have new staves every 6 months, etc. The same principle as blocks, but the need to add new staves is longer. And by addition of 50 to 300 gram per hectoliter, accumulate weight up to 500, 600 if you are in stainless steel and don't know your importer, your buyer, ask you for traditional Italian style like Chianti, where you have a long aging in bottage, classically in Tuscany. Depends on the wine and the winery, but then that could be a good idea to simulate that. Massimo said it's like barrel. No, you can make a wine that competes with the good use of staves. You can make a wine that is confirming and competing with wines made with barrel, but the style is different. So from the consultant, I said that you can reach the same goal, but the wines are different. But you can, and often you reach the same style goal. The wine are not exactly the same, and generally it's cheaper than the barrel. So it's not exactly the same, of course. May I transfer stave from one wine to another? Exactly the same elements as for blocks. So only if you don't have a negative bread test and you filter your wine, it's better, etc., etc. White wine the same. When to use oak zigzag, wine in barrel, or barrel except new ones. As soon as the barrel has been used once, I recommend to add at least 100, 200 grams per hectoliter in zigzag. My vision of zigzag is like staves or blocks. I think in gram per hectoliter, then that means how many segments according to the size of your barrel. Vessels where larger staves are not convenient, stainless steel and concrete, amphora and big tanks or big barrel where you cannot enter large staves. At the start of fermentation in white and rosé, same dosage as staves, French oak, long convection in white, rosé, reds of Pinot Noir, Syrah, Grenache, and convection empty in reds of Cabernet. When to use oak barrel? Barrique. let's remind some, they are not compulsory. All wines, expensive wines, of course, and more it will be like this with what Massimo said at the end of this conference. When barrels are microbiology sound, if not, you don't use barrels, you work differently. After the correct use of blocks in fermentation maceration, remember top quality reds are fermented with oak blocks, I talked about that before, with the right amount of zigzag in use barrel to avoid old oak character. Be careful of making, listen to the sentence, it's full of sense. It's not good to make small great wines. Small great wines. Okay. And now to say, try to copy some style, I don't know, legendary wine, and because you are a newcomer, you don't have the same amount of money, and you work with old barrels, and pity for you, for example, the wine fame is based on a new barrique, and you only have old barrels. So you arrive with your wine with all wood style, and then people say, oh no, it's not the cheaper version of a great wine. It will be a small wine, so small wine price, okay? So be careful of all oak character. Many winemakers are used to it because often depends on the wineries, but not all the wineries, but often there, for example, in Rioja, most of the barrels are old barrels. So the winemakers are used to the old oak style, and consumers, they don't always like it. Okay. Important fact with used barrels, after 2 or 3 years of use, we have demonstrated, Delteil, we demonstrated that in winery that use different barrels, that Etienne Cooper's long convection, remember the ex-Ambrosia, other barrels that better go on bringing roundness and ripe fruit to the wine. They are managing better the risk of negative old oak aroma and style and dry tannins with used barrel, especially if you use the right amount of zigzag in the second and third year. When you choose your new barrel, take into account the way they will age. Everybody around the world try a new barrel, a new style of barrel when they are new. They make sense. But then people generally, they don't, when I talk to people, they don't consider the way they behave with the second wine, with the third wine, etc. So we trials up to 3 years, and I'm sure a fourth and fifth years, if they are still good, there's difference. The higher cost of new long convection compared with convection or some flame tossed barrel is greatly paid during the second and third years of use. That's our point of view through experimentation. Okay, some wood is interesting, etc., but wood is not the only thing. So key points for barrel aging with red wine around Delteil method. So we said that, I repeat, maceration fermentation with the right blocks, not malactic with the right lactobacillus. I said the name before. During alcoholic is a very interesting to manage minerality, fresh, fruity, and style. Precise racking program to eliminate the excess of negative saturated lees. It's far better to make 2 rackings at certain moments rather than spend more money with 100, 200 grams of blocks to compensate the negative effect of lees. Remove what is negative, to work on the cause, eliminate the negative cause, the uninteresting bad lees, and rather than use more oak, more inactivated yeast, etc. 1 to 2 months in bottle with some new staves or block, centrifuge, barrique with the right specific inactive yeast until March, back to yeast and wood, wine. This is the triangle to make wine for 2000 years. Wine, so grapes, yeast, oak. Okay, we talk about oak, now I talk a little bit about yeast here. And I work as much on the impact of yeast in inactivated yeast in aging as oak, and I know well the interaction. And then very good, and so then you can work with 1 batch a month to keep fresh minerality, but quite a trendy style. Rather, I'll make 2 ripe, 2 open wines. filtration, spring filtration is an excellent technique, and back to barrique with the right specific inactivity yeast, only one batonnage per trimester to keep fresh minerality. This is quite different from some tradition or some ideas or some philosophy or some enology school, and it works very, very well. And especially if you have quick ripening, high alcoholic wines. That technique, you have all the positive effect of your of the wood, of the barrique, etc., and the wines you feel far less alcoholic and dry tannins, etc. Very efficient way to express specificity of your top quality grapes and please rich consumers. If you make expensive wine, you have to think about rich consumers, what they drink. When the rich consumer, they often travel, so they will give you 5, 6, 7 references, etc., etc. You don't need to copy, but if you come with your specific grape, your terroir style, etc., with that technique, you have a very precise expression of this. I say that sentence because when people hear about it the first time and have not tried it, they say, but you standardize the wine. No, not at all. Limit the risk of Brettanomyces without specific additives. A good way to keep your barrel sound and clean, so use them for longer periods. So also you make a competitive top quality red if you have the grapes and the market. And at the end, the cost of your barrel will be lower because of all those elements. Okay. Now I want to show you the practical example. So quickly, the food, so large oak barrel, white wine, mid-range to top range wine, some top, considered top winery in Italy, in the Südtirol, many of their whites from 15 to 50 euro. Many are made like this, or at least a part of it. When your body or your food are microbially sound, interesting buffering vessel material effect with respect to stainless steel, particularly for the aging, with a story of microcurrent, electric current, with a correct use of stage in fermentation, construction. So remind you that the constructed body imposes mechanical constraints on the wood that prevent the right aging and toasting of the oak. You buy what you consider the best food on the market, There are big differences in quality between food, but they never have the precision of the toasting of long convection long convection medium that T. Coopers is able to produce. So you need to add positive enological during fermentation and aging. Stage should be renewed at least every 6 months. Red wine, mid-range to top range wines, classical in Italy, and I see that many countries they have completely abandoned food and they go back. France, many people talk about many French wineries. They buy food on one side and amphora on the other. Okay, but they keep the barrel also. Mid-range to top range, when both are microbially sound, all the same thing. Interesting buffering vessel effect. We saw that with the correct use of staves or block in agings. Construction, exactly the same thing. Block should be renewed at least every 3 months. Stave should be renewed at least every 6 months, or after 3 months, you add some new blocks, or after 6 months, you add some new staves. Excellent way to prepare wine that will be aged in barrel. 1-2 months in botte with staves is excellent for preparation for barrel. Okay, now quickly, just to illustrate all that, some practical example. Sauvignon, fruity mineral fresh wine, and we want a clean and sound white wine. We want the right longevity, and we don't want aggressive. Too much aggressivity. Okay, so you see the process. We start from the grape, destem crush, low pressure, segmentation of the juice between the pressure, cleaner of the juice, settling or flotation, no problem on the flotation, very good. Fermentation, 18 centigrade, low pH, staves, etc. You make your fresh mineral, good longevity Sauvignon. You don't need to stress your yeast and make a sluggish fermentation and oxidation and lose all your fresh grapes aroma with too low fermentation. Okay, I worked also 40 years on fermentation. So staves, long, we talk about that, long convection, French, medium toast, and I cannot see. I think I suggest 150. There's something on my screen that I can see that. Then at the end of alcoholic, you rack, segment 1 week, 1 month. Try that for your whites. Is the Delteil method for segmentation of the list. It always works well, and people that accept that and use that racking method always say earlier racking never wrong. If you go late for racking, you may be a big problem. Then so the symbol on those slides is for example, the staves are colored around with yellow. So as long as you see the yellow staves, they are the same staves that follow the wine. Then, for example, when you March, April, so often in January you take out your staves. Then spring comes. If you're Italian, you prepare your wine for bottling in March for Vinitaly in April. So you retouch your wine with you change. You see the staves are green this time. Not that they are less toasted, just a symbol. The same staves, same kind of staves, long convection, French, medium toast, 30, 50 grams, according to how the wine was going on. And then you bottle, and if you manage all the other key points, the wood will play clean, fully, to make a sound, clean, typical, good longevity, keep your typicity, and without aggressivity. White wine that, if you have the right commercial team, will sell and be drank and another time. Chardonnay, 10 euro per bottle, Chardonnay style, varieties like that, or if you want to make with local Greek variety, something that reminds Chardonnay, and because Chardonnay will never die, you know, anything but Chardonnay, you can say, okay. Well-known commercial elements. So here it's work. Somebody, for example, I've taken the example of one of my clients in Italy. They make one Chardonnay. It was thought at the beginning for export to United States, and they sell well in the United States. And it's the style that pleases the Italian. On the paper, that kind of Chardonnay was not supposed to please the Italian. They love it. Okay, because it's well made in that winery. So the same story, distem crush, distem and crush, low pressure, segmentation of the juice, clarification, fermentation, 18 centigrade, the right yeast. If you use the yeast I selected for Chardonnay, excellent. D47, for example, staves, always long convection French MT, 300, 350 grams per hectoliter to make that American market, not American oak, American market fruit, what they call fruit. You don't go to excess of vanilla if you have a good Chardonnay. Then you keep the staves until January, February. Then we saw that in according to the style. You can add, if you want to go on that mix of fruity, coconut, ripe pineapple, slightly pineapple. It's not vanilla head with those dosage, 100 grams, 50 if you prefer, whatever, and some 50, 100 or 30 some weeks before bottling. Okay, two examples of red, and then I finished. So an example of a model of Syrah. 10 euro per bottle. So grapes, distem and crush, maceration, 6-9 days maceration, because we are on upper premium on that. Not rather low temperature for 6-9 days, 1 délestage a day, symbolized by the going down and going up on the left. With 5-6 délestage, you have taken the good fruit for that price market. Then here I have taken an example with, for example, co-inoculation with Enococcus. So the malolactic will go on after devatting and after in the middle of the screen, where it's called end of alcoholic fermentation. So after devatting, one day you rack to eliminate the heavy leaves that are real shit, excuse me for the word. They are very terrible. So that racking is as important as the délestage or whatever important action during winemaking. End of alcoholic fermentation, you rack again because some new leaves appeared, and then malolactic, racking, etc., etc. Let's see the wood. So during fermentation on that, oak rice, convection, French MT plus 200 grams per hectoliter, as I said in the general elements. So I apply here. Then after generally, I took the example of rather big winery. So you drain, you rack next day, you finish your alcoholic fermentation at 20 centigrade, because also there you are waiting for malolactic. Alcoholic finishes, you rack, and in the tank where you are waiting for the malolactic, you add new vini blocks because the rice was eliminated with the pomace. That, and you see the bag, vini block in bag, so they can follow the wine until some month. Then you rack, and then maybe a centrifuge in middle, and then in spring, end of winter, beginning of spring, you start stave aging, long convection, French MT, 200 grams per hectoliter. The staves that I presented for my favorite, not the word, the wine that fits our good practices, the best in whites, for those reds like Syrah, Grenache, they go very well. And then after 3 months, 3, 4, 5 months, in the tank at the lower part of the screen, when you are ready to bottling, generally already a first filtration, etc. 1, 2, 3 weeks, maybe 1 month with the same kind of staves, 100 grams per hectoliter. And of course, those staves, after so short time of contact, use them in another one. And the last example, the most complex, more than 20 euro Cabernet model. Then depends on some Greek variety that will fit that process. This stem crush, maceration 15 days, temperature, moderate temperature, to not stress the yeast, to extract quietly things, etc. On Cabernet, so if you make this process with the Syrah, top Syrah, some also could be interesting, parenthesis. Then if you start with 1-2 délestage per day during the first week, then 1 délestage per day in the second week, you don't need more than 15 days for maceration to make modern, fresh, fruity, mineral, complex red wine. Okay, if you want to make a more old style, more Robert Parker style, you can go on 3 weeks maceration, but then you need to go against some drier tannins. Okay, so if you make délestage with that temperature, this stem crush, good grapes, concentrated, etc., maceration enzymes, etc. After that, after 15 days, around 15 days, you rack 1 day. The grapes were excellent, but the leaves are still very bad, shit. So you rack after 1 day. You finish alcoholic if sugar were not finished, and malolactic. Here in this example, I've taken the example with the use of lactobacillus ml prime in the maceration. So malolactic is finished when you drain. The work is simpler later. Then sulfitation and segmentation of the lead, 1-2 weeks to prepare in stainless steel or concrete, according to the one way. Then you go to food. Then you prepare the barrel aging. So centrifuge, you go to the barrel. In spring, I talk about that in the good practice of filtration. You go back to barrel until December, January, then you rack, and then you go. Let's see the wood. So in maceration, we talk about that. We have a very good grapes, and you want to make a very fruity, stable, sound and clean red wine without excessive aggressivity. Tough, strong tannin if you're on the 30, 50 euro Cabernet, but soft also. So 300 grams of convection French MT plus blocks in bags during maceration. When you rack the blocks, they follow the wine until the end of alcoholic and the first racking, the green bag. Then in the botte foudre, you go according to the age of your botte, etc. I remind you, they must be clean from microbiologically. So staves, French complexion, empty plus, 50-100 grams, according to your style and the way the wine reacted with the blocks, etc. Then after you stay there 1-2 months, according to your process. Then the staves, when you rack, you go to a tank. Here, stainless steel, can be concrete, no big deal. The staves, they go on. Then centrifuge, because it's good to more secure and not just microbiologically, with all the work and big reds, there are some very small particles of color, etc., that give harsher tannin, etc. If you eliminate them, it's good. Of course, when you fill your barrel, you will have, after a centrifuge, you need, wood, wine, missing yeast, so you add inactivated yeast after the centrifuge, and the triangle wood, wine, yeast will work very well. What kind of barrels? I would recommend 50%, for example, on Cabernet, long convection French, 30%, 33 for maybe 30 euro Cabernet. 1/3 new, 1/3 1 year, 1/3 2 years, and 50% convection French empty plus, ex Odyssey. 1/3 new, 1/3 1 year, 1/3 2 years. You don't go wrong with that choice. Then you can try other things with the future. Of course, some zigzag 200 grams per hectoliter in use barrel. And generally it will be convection French empty plus. I consider the best in Cabernet to balance the possible effect of old oak. And double and 300 grams if you are not using convection or long convection barrel. Flame toasted barrels used flame toasted barrels. I would recommend some more zigzag to rebalance the flame toasted barrel when they are used. March, April, filtration, very good technique, was born in 2004. I remember exactly a winery that called me in March and told me, Dominique, I have some bread in the Merlot. I said, filter and add some inactivities after filtration. No, but I told you it's in barrel. I said, yes, I heard you. And you have bread, so filter and then back to barrel with inactivated yeast, 30 grams of inactivities I created with collaborating with Valma. Okay, so and we tasted the wine in November and said, where is the lot that was the Merlot lot that had bread? Said, that's the one we classified as first. Ah, okay. Not because there were bread. There was a first count of bread. There was no sensory impact of bread. So he said, with that result, I will try next year again. And now this winery, the filter stop red that goes from 20 to 50 euro a bottle, and they sell. They are all filtered. March, April is the filtration month. And this year, it will start winemaker to filter Pinot Noir. Until now, Pinot Noir were not filtered. It's here, talking about Northern Italy. And now we start to filter Pinot Noir. They give very good result. After filtration, depending on your bread history, if you, even with those precautions, you had a bread history in your winery, after the filtration, you go back to a clean barrel with a new zigzag. If you had last time you saw bread on the plate was some years ago, then you can use the, and you make a bread after, of course, before the filtration, you make some plating of some test of Brettanomyces. And then when you, in December, your aging is very soft, like that way. Some people say you want to enhance the oak taste. No, it's the contrary. The use of blocks, staves, and the food before barrel is to have a softer, more integrated red wine with the barrel. And in December, with slow and right aging, close to bottling, if you need to go to stainless steel because you need to empty your barrels in December, or for example, for until March, April, May bottling, some 50 grams per hectoliter staves. And if you need to wait longer for bottling, every 3 months you add some new staves. Okay, I think I've finished, and yeah, with time, I will stay there, because then the glass block test it's already present on our website, so you can go and look at it. The way you can choose between different blocks. We developed a very simple test, but I want to keep some time for some question. I've finished here. Thank you for attention.
Thank you also, Monsieur Delteil. Nous vous remercions vraiment pour cette présentation si intéressante, d'avoir partagé avec nous votre grande expérience.
C'est un plaisir de partager l'expérience.
Ευχαριστήσαμε πολύ τον κύριο Delteil που έκανε αυτή την παρουσίαση και που μοιράστηκε μαζί μας όλη αυτή τη μεγάλη εμπειρία που έχει. Νομίζω το καταλαβαίνουμε όλοι σε όλες αυτές τις ποικιλίες, διεθνείς ποικιλίες. Και τώρα το λόγο το έχει ο κύριος Θαμνίδης, ο οποίος θα μας πει, Παναγιώτη, ο λόγος είναι σε εσένα.
Ναι, ευχαριστώ πολύ. Ευχαριστώ πολύ και τους συμμετέχοντες που κάποια στιγμή πλησιάζαν και τα 95-97 άτομα. Ήταν μια μεγάλη ομιλία, γιατί ήταν από 2 ομιλητές. Ξέρω ότι οι μεγάλες ομιλίες είναι κουραστικές. Στην ουσία, αυτό που θέλω να πω εγώ είναι ότι η TN Coopers είναι μια εταιρεία που έχει 2 διαφορετική μέθοδο toasting, την οποία την έχει πατεντάρει, το convection. Όπως είπε και ο Μάσιμο, που συγκεκριμένη είναι περίπου γύρω στα 15 χιλιοστά στο ξύλο, σύνθεση με το toasting με το fire που δεν αυτό το έδειξε και με ένα παράδειγμα με τα cubes, με τα mini blocks, ο Μάσιμο, που έδειξε ότι το toasting ήταν πλήρως σε όλη την μάζα του ξύλου, ενώ με το open flame ήταν μόνο επιφανειακά. Επίσης είδαμε ότι έχουν εφαρμόσει μια καινούργια τεχνική σε ό,τι αφορά τα βαρέλια με το Aqua System, το οποίο στην ουσία μειώνει κατά 50% το αστρίτιση των βαρελιών, όταν πια ο καταναλωτής θέλει όλο και περισσότερο φρούτο. Και το πολύ ενδιαφέρον είναι, που και για μας τους Έλληνες φαίνεται λίγο περίεργο, στην ομιλία του Delteil, το πώς θα έλεγα έτσι, η υπερβολική χρήση ξύλου, που εμείς τη φοβόμαστε οι Έλληνες, σε εναλλακτικά δριώς, όπως κάποιοι μου λένε εγώ έχω καλά βαρέλια ή θέλω μόνο βαρέλια ή δεν θέλω φτηνά πράγματα. Εδώ, γιατί έχω πιει και κάποια κρασιά τους, πραγματικά έχω εντυπωσιαστεί, που μου έχει στείλει ο Μάσιμο, πώς ακόμα και σε πολύ ακριβά κρασιά η χρήση, ας πούμε, viniblocks ή κάποιων εναλλακτικών δριώς μέσα στη ζύμωση, από την αρχή της ζύμωσης, αυτό το μυστικό, γιατί μόνο τότε γίνεται η σωστή ενσωμάτωση και η σωστή αλληλεπίδραση των κολοειδών του ξύλου με τα αρώματα, πώς έχουμε καλύτερα αποτελέσματα ακόμα και σε κρασιά που θα πάνε σε βαρέλι. Βέβαια, η ερώτησή μου εμένα θα ήταν στον Delteil και θα την κάνω τώρα στα αγγλικά σε λίγο. Και ο φόβος μου ήταν, ναι, εγώ θα φοβόμουν από την αλήθεια να βάλω ξύλο σε ένα Sauvignon Blanc, γιατί είναι πολύ ευαίσθητες θιόλες του κτλ. Θα του την κάνω την ερώτηση αυτή. Μην διστάσετε να κάνετε ερωτήσεις. Κανείς δεν θα σας πει, μιλάω για τους 85 συμμετέχοντες, ότι είναι μια ερώτηση χαζή ή οτιδήποτε. Δεν υπάρχει σωστή και λάθος ερώτηση. Ξέρω από τις ερωτήσεις μαθαίνουμε. Εντάξει, θέλω να πω ότι ο Delteil είναι ένας άνθρωπος με πολύ μεγάλη εμπειρία και ίσως κάποια πράγματα μας φαίνονται λίγο οξύμορα, γιατί όντως είδαμε μια πολύ μεγάλη χρήση ξύλου και φυσικά αυτό που είδαμε, ότι όσο πιο μεγάλα τα κομμάτια του ξύλου, τόσο καλύτερο και πιο premium το αποτέλεσμα. Δηλαδή είδαμε ότι, και βλέπουμε ότι σε πιο ακριβά μπουκάλια χρησιμοποιούσαν πιο πολύ cubes ή staves, πήγαιναμε δηλαδή σε πιο, όσο πιο premium κρατήσει να φτιάξουμε, πάμε σε μεγαλύτερα κομμάτια ξύλου. Είναι πιο elegant. Δεν θέλω να πω πολλά άλλα πράγματα, γιατί ήδη η παρουσίαση είναι πολύ μεγάλη και έχει κουράσει τον κόσμο, γιατί είναι πολλές. Είμαστε ήδη από 2 ώρες, είναι τεράστια παρουσίαση. sorry for my Greek, Mr. Dominique and Massimo. I just make a small summary of what Massimo and you, Dominique, you have said just before. Just a question I have. For example, we have some in Greece, although Greece is a very hot country, quite hot country. Of course, we have cool climates also in Greece. For example, it was very strange for me using wood during fermentation for Sauvignon Blanc, because it's a very sensitive variety with sensitive thiols and a very unique style. Doesn't affect the style of the wine using, let's say, in such kind of varieties, doesn't change the flavor or profile of the wine.
Yes, in making it more sound, more clean, bringing longevity, and without the aggressivity, because some I've seen too many winemakers and professors, etc., around the thiol story to reach some aggressive wines. So as I say, also some people say, so it's true. If you use those staves and you are in an area where your Sauvignon doesn't taste like New Zealand, with the staves, with my proposal, you will not make a New Zealand Sauvignon. And there are other Sauvignon around the world that sail. And also, when winemakers talk about New Zealand, maybe they don't know top quality New Zealand Sauvignon. They are not so green, for example, and also around the world, well-made, balanced, longevity, sound Sauvignon. Their natural potential depends on the clone, the viticulture, the climate, etc., is stabilized by the staves. Northern Italy, the plain, high-yield Sauvignon with the staves, with that recipe, we make a mineral, fresh, easy to drink white wine that is sold €5 at the winery. And in this category, exporting to Sweden, one of the best-selling Italian wine. It's not New Zealand Sauvignon. Same consultant, me. Okay. Let's say Terlan Winery in Northern Italy, the most renowned €15 Sauvignon called the Winkel. The fermentation, a good part is fermented like I showed you. A part is also a small part in foudre with some staves. And then quartz, €45 at the winery, sold out in 6 months. I don't say it's the best Sauvignon in the world, but it's expensive. It's Sauvignon. It tastes like Sauvignon. A part is fermented, a small part in stainless steel, like I showed. A part is fermented in botte with the same amount of staves. And the part is fermented in barrel, small part. And it is recognized Sauvignon. So, and it's true for the variety, Muscat, etc. So the answer is, with that dosage, if you use oak chips, the same dosage late in fermentation, you will cover your style, you will chill your Sauvignon. At the beginning of fermentation, with that dosage of staves, it is not at all a big quantity, it's a small quantity, and then you have a balanced minerality. Then talking about hot climate whites, if you need to add 1, 2, 3 grams tartaric acid to go to a right pH, those dosage of staves, either in the Sauvignon or the Chardonnay example, help you to integrate the sensory to make the change of pH completely positive. Or if you add 1 gram of tartaric and then on the juice you add 20% of ion exchange juice to get the right pH. If you don't use wood, you can have a less, okay, you have a positive effect of lower pH, but the balance of the wine, those dosage of staves in white helps you go to the right balance, etc. It's a balancing effect, and with that dosage and with all of the elements that participate to the fruity mineral aromas of Sauvignon and many other varieties, it helps in the balance. Sauvignon is a good model. In Muscat, for exactly the same words for the Muscati fresh modern aroma. And also with Muscat, the key point is that you have a very high level of catechins. So lower the pH, maybe if you need to use 20 grams of PVPP to remove some catechin, etc., that dosage of staves rebalance the wine to make a more fruity, balanced Muscat that is not a mix of fresh aromas and tannins. That's not respecting the free axis: sound, clean, longevity, and that.
Παναγιώτη, έχεις κλειστό το μικρόφωνο σου.
Ναι, το άνοιξα.
Και εγώ μία ερώτηση για την εμπειρία του σχετικά, αν έχει κάτι να μας πει σε σχέση με την ποικιλία ασύρτικο. Και δεν μιλάω μόνο για το ασύρτικο της Σαντορίνης, όπου το pH είναι πολύ χαμηλό, αλλά γενικά το ασύρτικο πια που καλλιεργείται σε όλη την Ελλάδα. Θα ήθελες να την απευθύνεις εσύ, να την κάνω εγώ?
Όπως θέλεις. Και εγώ την ίδια ερώτηση θα είχα. Για ποικιλίες με πολύ χαμηλό pH, αν έχουμε έτσι μεγαλύτερη χειλισματικότητα του ξύλου ή αν έχουμε μια διαφορετική. Αλλά κάτι είναι εσύ.
Όχι, σε παρακαλώ, μίλα του εσύ και αν χρειαστεί κάτι θα εγώ ευχαριστώ.
We have a question about the using of wood for varieties like Assyrtiko. Assyrtiko is a variety with normally is cultivated now, is originated from Santorini. It's a unique variety because it has very low pH. Sometimes it's below 3, 2.9, 0.85, 3, 3.1 maximum, and high alcohol. So I believe in this kind of wine and high alcohol, low pH, high acidity, are we going to have, let's say, not harsh, but to have more extraction of the wood because of this low pH of the wine and high alcohol wine? So if you have experience with wines that have a resemblance with Assyrtiko, or with high alcohol, low pH, high acidity, how the wood is integrated or is changing the profile of this kind of wines?
Where I live, where I'm speaking to you, is in the Jurançon area, where the Petit Mansin comes at, when it's 15% alcohol, it's still 2.9 or 3.0 pH. So on those variety, for me, the base is what I propose for Sauvignon. By experience, I would say at least this quantity of stave. In the case of Petit Mansin, that comes higher, it's very primitive from genetically point of view, primitive grape variety. Almost the right quantity is more the Chardonnay process to make a fruity balance Petit Mansin. With Assyrtiko, try the Sauvignon quantity. It works. It helps balance those sensations. I have drank, I don't know if it was pure, I bought, it was Assyrtiko on the label in Athena's airport. So I guess it was very mineral and balanced, and a wine I liked. With my personal experience of Assyrtiko, tried, sure the Sauvignon process will work. Try more, don't go under that. That's with my experience with other naturally high alcohol, low pH grapes.
Really, thank you. Δεν βλέπω να υπάρχουν ερωτήσεις και ίσως επειδή ήταν μια μεγάλη παρουσίαση, ο κόσμος θα χρειαστεί να την ξαναδεί και να δει ότι να του δημιουργηθούν οι απορίες, να καταλάβει κάποια πράγματα καλύτερα. Και Παναγιώτη, νομίζω ότι θα απευθυνθούν απευθείας σε εσένα για την όποια απορία μπορεί να έχουν. Παναγιώτη, έχεις ολοκληρώσει την ομιλία σου?
Ναι, έχουμε ολοκληρώσει νομίζω. Δεν θέλουμε να συνεχιστεί άλλο με τη λογική ότι είναι πάνω από, έχουμε ξεπεράσει τις 2 ώρες. Το καταλαβαίνω αυτό. Ευχαριστούμε. Εγώ θέλω να ευχαριστήσω θερμά όλους τους συμμετέχοντες που μείναν 2 ώρες μαζί μας. Το ξέρω ότι είναι δύσκολο, το ξαναλέω Παρασκευές, αλλά ίσως είναι πιο εύκολο γιατί άλλες μέρες είναι πιο σφιχτές. Να ευχαριστήσω ξανά τον κόσμο. Ήταν μια εξαιρετική η συμμετοχή του κόσμου. Θέλω να ευχαριστήσω τον κύριο Delteil και τον κύριο Μάσιμο για τη συμμετοχή τους και αυτό το σεμινάριο. Δεν θέλω να πούμε κάτι άλλο. Νομίζω ότι οποιοδήποτε θέλει μπορεί να αποτανθεί σε εμάς. Μπορούν να δουν, όπως είπες και εσύ, το σεμινάριο αυτό ή κομμάτια του μέσω του YouTube της Πανέπο. Να πω την αλήθεια, τα κατεβάζω, το βάζω και εγώ στο δικό μου YouTube που σιγά σιγά το χτίζω της συνοανάλυσης, αλλά μπορούν να το δουν οπουδήποτε θέλουν. Δεν θέλω να πω κάτι άλλο. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ για τη συμμετοχή σας. Ήταν μεγάλη τιμή που ένας τέτοιος άνθρωπος, ο Dominique Delteil, με τέτοια εμπειρία και με τέτοιο ογκογνώσεις, μας χαρίζει μέρος της γνώσης του και θέλει να μεταδώσει τη γνώση του. Οπότε από εμάς να ευχαριστήσουμε πάρα πολύ και εννοείται την Πανέπο που μας δίνει το βήμα να μιλήσουμε και να πούμε σημαντικά πράγματα. Να πω ότι θα υπάρχει και ένα επόμενο σεμινάριο, δεν ξέρουμε πότε ακόμα, Ιωάννα, το οποίο αυτή τη φορά θα αφορά κάτι, θα αφορά χιτοζάνι και φουμαρικό, σαν τρόπους διαχείρισης, γιατί είδαμε και στην παρουσίαση του Ντομινίκ μίλησε πάρα πολύ για bread και διαχείριση των bread. Εγώ θα μιλήσουμε για φουμαρικό και για χιτοζάνι σαν ένας τρόπος διαχείρισης των spoilage μικροοργανισμών, και θα μιλήσουμε επίσης και για τη συνδυαστική χρήση φουμαρικού και χιτοζάνης, όπου έχει λειτουργούν συνεργιστικά και είναι πολύ πιο δραστικά σαν μόρια. Αυτά από εμάς. Sorry for my Greek, Dominique and Massimo. I really want to thank you for your time and for your knowledge that share with us. It was a very big participation of people watching this webinar. Thanks a lot, and I wish all of you to have a nice weekend.
Mr. Massimo and Mr. Delteil, we really thank you for everything and for being with us. Παναγιώτη, σε ευχαριστούμε και εσένα προσωπικά, και η Πανελλήνια Ένωση Πτυχιούχων Εινολόγων σας εύχεται ένα καλό βράδυ. Μπορείτε να δείτε όλες τις παρουσιάσεις, όπως είπε και ο Παναγιώτης νωρίτερα, στο YouTube, στο κανάλι της Πανελλήνιας Ένωσης Πτυχιούχων Εινολόγων στο YouTube, και να τις δείτε όσες φορές χρειαστείτε. Σας ευχόμαστε πραγματικά ένα ευχάριστο βράδυ και ένα καλό Σαββατοκύριακο. Καλή νύχτα.
Γεια σας, καλή νύχτα.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you for invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for your organization. Bye bye.
Bye bye.